Missed my screening for this movie, sadly, but I finally got to see Scream 6 in theaters today. We are going to talk... Hello?
What's your favorite scary movie?
Oh, man, that's hard. I would say Human Centipede, just to be different, you know.
That's your favorite? This guy's favorite Human Centipede.
What's up, Scream fans? Welcome back to the channel. That was a joke. I'm not a big fan of Human Centipede, but I am a fan of this franchise. I can't wait to talk about this new movie. I went back and prepared by watching all of the sequels. Was it worth it? Well, I may do a ranking. If you want to see it, let me know down below. Let's talk about this movie. Following the latest Ghostface killings, the 4 survivors leave Woodsboro behind and start a fresh chapter. That chapter is in New York City. This movie is rated R for strong bloody violence and language throughout, brief drug use, all of the things that we're used to in the Scream franchise. Although we'll start with this. This movie is much more bloody and brutal than I expected it to be, right? All of the Scream movies, there's obviously going to be stabbing. There's going to be stab films. There's usually a knife involved. Oh my god. And of course, that's somewhat brought up. There is that meta nature that we love about all of the Scream movies, especially the sequels, and this film in particular. It once again brings that up. Don't worry, that's not a spoiler because it's in every single film, but sequels, they have to go bigger and better, and they have to expand on certain things, bring back some of the legacy characters. Sometimes those legacy characters don't make it out alive. All of these points are followed to a T, and sequel after sequel, Scream after Scream, we continue to get them, but we kind of eat them up. We're looking forward to the next one. Does Scream 6 do the same old thing? Well, I mentioned those kills. I mentioned the stabbing. Bloodier, more brutal than expected. Bigger, obviously, but there's something about this New York setting that allows the atmosphere to work oh so well in this film. It feels like the possibilities of what could happen to our characters are endless because you're in the city of dreams. It's a big city. Well, sometimes those dreams are nightmares. And off the bat, you knew this movie was going to at least tweak a few things because it starts out in a way that no other Scream movie has ever started. You know the trope. The trope is there. Is it going to start with somebody answering the phone the way the last movie did, the way Scream 3 did, the way Scream 2 did? No. This movie starts out in a vastly different way, and a way that caught me off guard, and I'm sitting back going, okay, we're going there. How is this going to work? And then it takes another turn with its story, and you're like, okay, now we are here. And the fact that it did keep me on my toes throughout most of the runtime, I'm not going to say all of the runtime, my dog is trying to get in this door. What do you want, man? Oftentimes, when you reach the 6th movie in a franchise, the quality tends to dip. It's not that the franchise has lost steam, because obviously there are 6 movies now. Clearly, people want to see this film, but I look at the Mission Impossible movies. Those are movies that continue to get better, and I don't know if Scream is on an incline, but the consistency here is really impressive and really well done. I'm not even going to say everyone enjoyed last year's Scream movie. It was a bit too meta for some. It took on ideas and kind of fell into cliches that didn't impress everyone. I had fun with that sequel. I had fun with this movie. But looking back at the two, I like the fact that they were distinctly different films. Scream 5, it knew what it had to do, and I think it accomplished that goal, but it did feel very familiar. It's kind of like The Force Awakens of the franchise. This, it has those conventions, but it tends to steer away from certain tropes that we know in the Scream franchise, so in that way, we could call this The Last Jedi, but in a good way, I promise.
What is wrong with you?
Should have thought a bit more about that comparison before I caused controversy, but you get what I'm saying, right? It goes in a different direction. It goes in numerous different directions, but it keeps the heart and it keeps the soul intact of the Scream franchise, and it attempts to, at every turn, give us something that maybe we expect, but give it to us in a way that keeps that quality intact. From the directors of Ready or Not, from the directors of last year's Scream, but again, they could have just did the same old thing. And we have the same old characters, at least from the last movie, and a couple of legacy people in there. You've seen them in the posters and the trailers. Courteney freaking Cox. She has a moment, well, I'd say the handful of moments in this movie that just rock, man. I really love seeing her being a part of the action even today in 2023 in the 6th movie. We have not grown tired of her at this point. Always causing trouble, as her character of Gail Weathers does, but again, you have that heart and emotion there. Hayden Panettiere, already confirmed. She's a recognizable face. She's in the trailer and the teaser. I really like the inclusion of Kirby Reed, and it's not like we're integrating legacy characters out just because there's a familiar face. I do like how the focus is on the crew that we knew in the first movie, and the two performances there, Melissa Barrera and Jenna Ortega, are as good as expected. But the entire crew is really likable. I somewhat forgot about how fun the dynamic was from the previous Scream film, and then you see them on screen again here, and you're just rooting for everyone to survive. You know everyone's not going to survive because there is a killer on the loose, but I will say that dynamic is really pleasant when we're not as focused on the killing and the murders, and they do take time to establish certain characters, and we have new people involved, and you're trying to figure out, okay, are they a part of it? You know, obviously, our characters are going to suspect certain people and try to figure out if certain members of the group are a part of it, but are they really? And you're trying to figure that out as well, and at one point, I thought I had all the answers, just like our characters did, and then I'm like, well, maybe I don't have the answers. Maybe I do, but maybe I don't. So the movie, it keeps you on your toes, but it puts what we want to see at the forefront, and that is the blood and the slasher element. Again, it's meta. We have those meta jokes, and we talk about certain things. There was a letterbox shout out in this movie, and I fully respected that.
Nerd alert!
Also, I just really like Mason Gooding. I love him in Love Victor. I love him in some of the movies that he pops up in, and he's just a super likable character. Loved his presence in the last movie and again here. Also, one more issue, and I'll try to tiptoe around spoilers here. There is a moment when someone is kind of revealing their plan and what all is happening or has happened, and I'm sitting back going, you've managed to avoid full-on cliches. I mean, you hit on the cliche, but you always realize it's a cliche, right? You've managed to avoid that this entire movie, and then there's this big spiel, and I'm thinking, I don't like the way that was handled, and everything is given to the audience in that moment. I just felt kind of deflated after that moment. I was still enjoying it, but that did kind of bring it down, and what could have been an all-time horror sequel, at that moment I realized, well, maybe this is not an all-timer. But you want to know, is Scream 6 worth a watch in the theater? My simple answer is yes. This is one you want to watch with a crowd on the biggest and best screen possible, and you want to be into it. I think my crowd tonight, packed. They were really into this, and it was a lot of fun. If you're here and you want to drop a like, that would be awesome. If you want to drop a comment, that would be even more awesome. And if you want to come back for more reviews, that would be the awesomest.
Let's do all the things that you want to do.
Scream 6 is a bloody good time. The New York setting is used to its advantage as this sequel feels bigger and more willing to take risks. The familiar tropes are present, but the way it all comes together will keep fans on their toes. See this with a crowd. My score is a 78%. Really enjoyed this sequel. It's one of those that it just works. I mean, it's really hard to mess up an easy formula, so that's something. But Scream, it has a special place in my heart, and it's hard for me to hate one of these movies. But do I hate one of these movies? Find out in my Scream movie tier list, which is coming this weekend, along with my Oscar predictions, along with my Oscar reaction. It's going to be a fun one. I'll see you soon.